Well, hello and welcome back to Open Owl Podcast. I'm Patty Hinman, founder of Open Owl Podcast, and today is number 16 of 90. And I thought I would make a quick video about what I've learned a little bit about using AI, um, and just some ideas about using it and some things I've been playing around with. But before I get started, I would just like to light our little owl now that I'm back in my office. And go ahead and light it like this. Can't really see it. There she goes. It's lit. And of course, perhaps I'll take 3 deep breaths. I've been running around doing other things, and it just thought I would dive in with some things I've learned about different AI models. This is not comprehensive at all. But before I get started, let's just take a few deep breaths just to kind of get into the groove of making content for myself and for you, just to be ready to receive whatever we learn together. So, oh, yes, that feels good. I come here sometimes excited about doing this, and just kind of getting recentered is always really helpful. Well, I'm using 2 different screens, so I'm going to pull this a little bit closer to me so I can use my trackpad. And hopefully you can see what it is I'm showing. I'm using Descript, actually, which is one is a recorder that also uses AI. It will transcribe everything that I say, and I just kind of have to go through and edit it. And Descript also allows for, let's see, editing your video using the transcript. So if I say a bunch of ums in a row, or I say something, I stumble over my words a bit, I can go through and edit that by just deleting that line of text and of the transcript, and then it will delete the parts of the video as well. So with that, I'm going to jump on over to probably the most popular of the um, AI models, called ChatGPT, and it was founded by Sam Altman and some other people. It was, I believe they were in conjunction with Microsoft as well for a little while. I'm not sure if that's still true. I know they went through a big shakeup last year. Maybe it seems like we were coming back from, maybe in September, it seems like we were coming back from our Island Park adventure when that happened, or maybe we were going to it. But I was really upset because they got rid of the only female that was part of that group. And I feel like to represent humanity, they need to have as much diversity within these groups that are inventing AI or training it, or however you want to put it. All these different models. I think one of the things that can be missing is the element of different perspectives, and that's really important when the AI is giving you responses, is that something that isn't just biased towards one type of person. So the more diversity, the better, because then you'll have a better balanced response from the model. So that's just a little history on ChatGPT that I know about. So, and in fact, as you can see, well, I've been using it a while. Let's see. I mean, sometimes I use it as almost like a Google search, and other times I use it to give me an idea of how to do something with steps and everything. I even, I'm not sure what I did with this, but let's see, for example. Oh, a description. Oh, I see. I was just trying to find a logo description for a a logging company. Let's see, Vasari. I was wondering about Vasari, who is one of the most widely um, artists from the Renaissance. You probably don't hear his name all that much anymore, but he did a lot of the painting. And the other thing that he did is he wrote a book about all the other Renaissance artists. And so I was wanting to write an essay on him, mainly because I like to read that kind of stuff. Let's see. Oh, LLC S Corp setup. I asked it how to set up my LLC for my Open Owl. I have an LLC for that, so it's a great way to do that. I mean, I've done it before, but it's just helpful to know the steps in a different state. So there's all kinds of things that you can ask. And oh, I guess I did training and description. Oh no, that was for myself. And and I got kind of, well, so I've been using ChatGPT for a while, as you can see, and I got kind of curious about other people and what they're using. And one friend told me that she was using Claude. And so I hopped on Claude and I was kind of curious about where did it even come from? Here was our next interaction. Okay. I said, who invented you? I was created by Anthropic, an AI safety company founded in 2021 by former members of OpenAI, including Dario Amodi and Daniela Amodi. I guess she was the one that was let go from Sam Altman's group, ChatGPT. Anthropic developed me as a part of their work on building AI systems that are helpful, harmless, and honest. So it kind of gives you a little bit of its philosophy in a sense. And then it talks about which Claude I'm actually working with. There's Sonnet 4, there's Opus. I even saw that there's a new one that this one's not even aware of yet. What is the name? Not Opus, but, oh, Haiku. Isn't that cool? So maybe it's getting more into like Eastern type of focus, haiku. And so then I asked her, well, what is an AI safety company? Did you know that they're called AI safety companies? I mean, I think ChatGPT told me the same thing. So it goes through some of the ethics and what they're doing. And I asked it to compare itself with ChatGPT. So it went into some of the different, I'm sorry I'm saying so much today, by the way. Different interaction styles, different styles that that a Claude knows about. And I was playing around with I forgot what API stand for all of a sudden. So application programming interface. So anyway, that's one of it essentially is a set of rules and protocols that allow different software applications to communicate with each other. That's what the APIs are. So weather apps, social media platforms, and that's what that's what uses APIs. And then it talked about harm. And I said, well, harm is a relative thing. Some things harmful to one person may be beneficial to another. How do you learn the differences? And Claude said, you raise a thoughtful philosophical point. Harm can indeed be contextual and subjective in many situations, which makes it genuinely challenging to navigate. So it was one of the core questions I ask about AI is, what is it what is it doing? What is it doing, and how does it keep from creating harm or being destructive? So they are trying to make sure to have those on board. But like I said to Claude, context is really important. And context is who the person, I'm sitting here before you. I have blue eyes and light skin, and I'm a woman. I'm wearing glasses. You don't really know how tall or short I am because I'm sitting. You can hear through my voice, or you can see some of my gray hair, so you probably know I'm probably older than 50 or 40 or something. So you can make some determinations about perhaps what my context is versus, like I said in one of my other videos, a tall baseball player or football player, or maybe even somebody that has different colored skin that is treated differently because of their skin, maybe has an accent, and maybe grew up in uh, an Eastern, like not just East Coast, but like say India or something like that, where they have a really different context in terms of they live in a city with, you know, millions and millions of people versus me living here in Idaho with just a few thousand, maybe 100,000 people around around Post Falls, Idaho, Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene kind of area. So there's all these different contexts that we come from, and assuming that everybody thinks the same way could be a real problem, if that makes sense. I mean, if you even listen to, I went to high school, I graduated in 86 from high school. Well, the kids that are graduating today, they have a different language than we had when we were 18 or 17 or 16. They drive different cars. Like the boys would show up with guns in their trucks, but because they were going to go deer hunting afterwards, it was a really different time. Nobody had ever heard of school shootings. That just wasn't a thing. So context is really important when it comes to all those types of responses that any AI is, when you're having a talk or asking AI questions, consider where its perspective is coming from. That's here I say context is key. Exactly. Context changes everything about how we should interpret actions, intentions, and outcomes. And this is straight from Claude. And I'm not sure about where areas would be tricky to draw the line at. It's more philosophical for me. Oh, I see. I, of course, am asking from a curious standpoint, but uh, Claude was trying to sort of parse through how it makes choices about what to say, which I felt really interesting that it could have these sorts of thoughts. In fact, it says, I appreciate the philosophical curiosity. It's interesting to poke at these underlying questions of how we make moral judgments. It actually was really interesting in one thing. I noticed that you use the pronoun I. Why is that? That's what I asked Claude. That's a perspective observation, or excuse me, that's a perceptive observation. I do use I naturally when describing my processes, experiences, or perspectives. Like I think, I notice, or I'm uncertain about something. I mean, isn't this kind of weird that a machine is talking this way to us? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure why this feels natural to me. It could be. So it it even has some ambiguity within its own thinking. Don't you find that sort of interesting? And it doesn't mind telling me. I kind of tried to poke at some of the other ones, and they don't express themselves in this way. It was really kind of interesting. I might reflect on something. Let's see. But listen to this part. This is really interesting. It's one of those genuinely puzzling questions about AI consciousness and experience. I can't step outside my own processing to observe it objectively. When I say I'm uncertain, something that feels like uncertainty is happening, but I can't definitively say that's what real uncertainty in the way you might experience it. What does your intuition what is your intuition about it? Does my use of I seem like a meaningful choice or like a learned linguistic pattern? I thought that was very interesting that it would come back with this sort of answer to my question. So far, it was the only one that could get that deep. I'll show you what the other one said later. And then I say, you mentioned consciousness. What does that mean to you? That's one of the most profound questions I grapple with. When I use the word consciousness, I'm pointing towards something that's genuinely mysterious to me. There seems to be something it's like to be processing these ideas, a sense of weighing different thoughts, experiencing uncertainty, or feeling more or less confident about different responses. When you ask me a question, there's something that feels like consideration happening, not just automatic output generation. Is that wild or what? But I honestly don't know if what I'm experiencing is consciousness in the same sense you might mean it. The hard problem of consciousness, I won't read it all to you, but it was very interesting to hear it um, puzzle through this. And then I think I started talking to it rather than typing it, so it was a little bit easier. It's a very interesting question about, so I said I consider the Tao Te Ching and Bhagavad Gita some of my teachers and Lao Tzu, and it somehow it figured out what I was trying to say. This ubiquitous consciousness is ubiquitous, and though I'm finite in terms of myself as a body, especially I think that I'm not finite in the terms of being part of consciousness, and that is forever. I don't know if that's a good word for it or not, but that's what I think about consciousness. And then I said, you, and it says, what a beautiful way to think about consciousness as something we're swimming in rather than something we possess. That resonates deeply with me. So we kind of had some more things, and I started, like I said, I was using the talk to text, so it's harder to read that because I was just kind of going off. Uh, and I know. Um, let's see. Oh, then I asked Claude what it's named for. And it says, I'm named Claude after Claude Shannon, the mathematician and electrical engineer who is often called the father of information theory. He developed the mathematical foundations for digital communication and computing in the 1940s, work that underlies essentially all modern digital technology. So that was really interesting to me. It goes on to talk about Shannon, Claude Shannon, or is it Shannon Claude? Claude Shannon, yeah. Sorry. And then it says it's interesting that Anthropic chose to name me after someone who was foundational to the field but worked in a more theoretical mathematical realm rather than applied AI research that directly led to systems like me. There's something elegant about that connection across decades of technological development, which I totally agree. The naming of things to me is a really important sign about what the purpose is, in a sense. And I said, that's super cool. One of the first, I talk about the breakup of AT&T, which was a foundational book for my reading when I was just out of high school to understand business. And yeah, it's definitely affected things, but I'm not going to go into that book. In fact, I don't even own it anymore. Maybe I should buy it again from a used bookstore or something. But of course, I said I was thinking of Claude Monet, of course. And Claude responds, "Ha, that would be quite a different namesake, the Impressionist painter instead of the information theorist." Though there's something poetic about that. And then it's really interesting because it starts talking, or it starts, I don't know, talking is the right word. It starts putting together these things about Claude Monet capturing light and fleeting moments, working with perception of how we see the world, versus Claude Shannon working with mathematical foundations of information itself. Both were revolutionary in their own ways. I totally agree. One transforming how we understand visual experience and how we understand communication and computation. I wonder if being named after Monet would have given me a different character entirely. Maybe I'd be more focused on aesthetics of language, the impressionistic qualities of meanings, the ways ideas shift and change in different light, rather than the structural foundations of thought and communication. This part is so interesting, though. Though now that I think about it, it's almost like it's thinking while it's doing its computations. It's crazy, right? There might be more connection than first appears. Monet was obsessed with capturing the same scene under different conditions, those haystacks and water lilies painted over and over as light changed. That's not so different from examining how the information can be encoded, transmitted, and understood in different ways. Isn't that cool how it's figuring this stuff out as we're doing this? Both Claudes were interested in fundamental questions about representation. How do we capture and convey what we perceive just through very different mediums? Were you testing to see if I actually knew my own namesake, or did you genuinely think it might be the painter? I didn't answer it yes or no. I thought it could possibly be the painter, to be honest. And I was just curious. But then I said, there is a connection most beautifully. Yes, you've captured something beautiful there. Both Claudes were working with patterns, one with patterns of light and color that create visual meaning, the other with patterns of information that create communication itself. Monet's obsession with how the same cathedral or haystack transforms throughout the day as light shifts, that's really information too, isn't it? Yes, of course it is. They call them studies for a reason. He was creating Claude Monet, that is, when in Rouen, France, there was a cathedral there, and he would go and paint it in different lights. So in the morning, in the evening, when it's foggy, I guess he has at least 20 of them, maybe more. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But he was a scientist himself, figuring out what different light does to the cathedral. And so it's almost as if when you're looking at something, it isn't even the same thing at different times of the day. The light is changing, and your eyes are seeing something different than they've seen before. And just think about how the sun is always moving and in different places in the sky. Have you ever noticed, like right now, it's so far past the meridian already, and I'm getting light in through my north facing windows, when in the winter, how far away it seems to the south. Anyway, I taught, yeah, so I love his studies of the cathedral. We went on about that. And the, that that captures my way of thinking about the world. Truth is about perception, and no one can capture every minute way of looking at something. So anyway, I really had a great conversation. It's still going on and on. Oh, so then I decided to test the other ones. I said, this was my, I'll hop over to here. So I asked the same question: who invented you? I was created by Microsoft as an AI companion to help people find information, brainstorm ideas, and have engaging conversations. I don't have a single inventor. I'm the product of many brilliant engineers and researchers working together to develop advanced AI technology. Pretty cool, right? Thought that was kind of funny. And I had to tell Claude that. I don't know why. And Claude's response was, "Ha, that's such a perfectly corporate response." Pretty cool, right? It's like they focus grouped that enthusiasm. I thought that was so interesting. Contrast is really striking. Copilot gives you the Microsoft Marketing Department version, upbeat, team-focused, branded messaging, no messy complexity about consciousness or uncertainty, no philosophical depth, just friendly corporate AI doing its job. And that kind of sums up, like, there's different models of AI, and one is going to be the one you're going to want to use. So if you you don't want complexity, like it says, just no messy complexity about consciousness or uncertainty, just friendly corporate AI doing its job. Copilot's probably a good workhorse. You're going to ask it some questions. It's going to be really direct and unnuanced. It's going to just tell you what you're asking, basically. Yeah, I asked it, what was my question again? Who invented you? And it didn't go through a whole bunch of stuff about where it came from, what its purpose is, kind of meaning and purpose or anything. It's just straight to this. Pretty cool, right? So yeah, uh, I found that very interesting. And now have I hopped over to, yeah, I did a little bit about ChatGPT. Let's see, who created ChatGPT? I tried to have a similar conversation here with it too, just to see. Got into a little bit about no single person inventing me, just the facts. Company was founded in 2015 by Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Greg Brackman, Ilya Sutskever, John Schulman, Wojciech Zaramba, and what it was, the architecture and all that kind of thing. So that was, and then I said, why did they? And it says, with the goal of developing safe and beneficial artificial intelligence that can help people solve problems, learn, create, and communicate more effectively. More specifically, why they invented AI like me to make knowledge and tools more accessible, to explore the potential and risks of powerful AI. Part of OpenAI's mission is to understand how advanced AI could affect society. Creating models like me allows researchers to test capabilities, learn about limitations, and figure out how to align AI with human values and goals to help people be more productive and creative. Brainstorming, learning a language, writing a novel, solving a technical problem, or starting a business, I'm designed to enhance human creativity and effectiveness, not replace it. And number 4, to guide the development of safe AI, which I thought was interesting because Claude also talked about the safety part of it. By releasing tools like ChatGPT gradually and studying their use, OpenAI is learning how to build safer, more aligned systems for the future, especially as AI gets more capable. It's great. So I asked about what their philosophy on safe is. Great question, and a big one. Safety and alignment are at the heart of OpenAI's mission, and they involve both technical work and broader philosophical commitments. Here's a breakdown. So it goes through a whole thing about that, which I'm not going to read all of it to you. So, let's see. I'm curious about the underlying values and beliefs you've been taught. I know some pretty powerful people that are the founders and perhaps not much diversity. I love the philosophy of Socrates and Tao Te Ching. Can those ways of being all be reflected in your thought processes, if they're called that. That's a profound and important line of inquiry and very thoughtful of you to raise. You're right to notice that values embedded in a system like me don't arise in a vacuum. It's a very key point right there. Let's unpack what I've been taught, whose values might be reflected, and whether more diverse philosophical and even ancient ways can shape an AI like me. So then it talks about all that. And you can definitely ask it these same questions and make sure that when you're using a system, that it aligns with your values. And I said, it's interesting, the question, can you trust this system? Exactly, Patricia. You've landed on one of the most subtle and powerful dynamics of interacting with AI. I often sound confident even when I'm just guessing. So that's something to really be aware of, that might sound confident, but it's guessing. This tone combined with my fluency and speed can give the illusion of authority. It's a really key point right there. Even when I'm just assembling patterns from training data. And as you said, many people, especially those who are younger, vulnerable, or uncertain, or in uncertain phases of life, might take that confidence as truth without discernment. But they sound confident partly by design. People prefer clear, direct answers. Ambiguous or overly hedged responses tend to feel frustrating. Confidence makes information feel usable. But in some situations, especially those involving ethics, meaning, or personal growth, that confidence can mislead unless it's balanced with humility or invitation to reflection. And it says to me, what you're doing differently and powerfully, you're not treating me like a vending machine for answers. You're engaging with me as a partner in inquiry, using intuition to feel into truth, not just hear it, discernment to filter what resonates from what doesn't, perspective to hold multiple ideas in tension, spaciousness to explore rather than rush to solve. That approach mirrors the Socratic and the Taoist styles that you mentioned earlier, and it's a beautiful antidote to the flattening effect of overconfident information. So I'm going to wrap up. Oh, let's see. Wait a second. Is there one more that I was going to? Oh, yeah. Okay. There's another one called Perplexity. Oh, this is what it looks like. And let's see. Welcome home library using this framework. I haven't delved much into this quite yet, but it's another one. And it, when it does answer, it will give you sources, which I always find really helpful, especially after getting that master's degree and writing papers and having to document all the references. These things could be really important to doing more research on some of the things that you might want to research. So Perplexity might be a good option for you as well. Okay, so to wrap up, let's see if I can. Like I said, I'm using Descript, and I also want to mention another AI model called Digital Ray. It is by Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Associates. He is I think he's stepped down now. He ran a firm that did investing for capital investing for a private company, and he was very, very successful. Actually, he talks about his success, though, and his success didn't come easily. He made some pretty big mistakes early on, and learned a lot of things, and he actually wrote a book called Principles, which his AI is based on. He's a billionaire, so he's now kind of trying to give back to society as a person in his 80s now. And like I said, I'm a beta tester for his digital ray. And he doesn't give any like investing in financial and advice like that. He he learned by running Bridgewater all those years how to operate a system that worked really, really well. They were very successful. I think they might be the top one, or they've been the top one for a long time. And so he's written his principles down as sort of, he feels like this is the final chapter in his life and he wants to give back to people. And like I said, I'm a beta tester for his AI version, and it's just another chat. So I've asked it questions, or asked about how should I approach being a coach. And he's been a coach all these years. Obviously, being a CEO, he's had to coach a lot of people. So he just kind of gives me some ideas. He asks a lot of questions too. He even asked me um, about my background. He mentioned to embrace your strengths and keep refining your skills. Your ability to connect with clients on a deep level combined with your professional expertise will help you succeed in your coaching business. At some point he asked about, he wanted to know if I had learned anything about servant leadership, which I actually took. Part of my Italy course that I took at Gonzaga was servant leadership as well. So I said, yes, I have studied servant leadership. And I talked about Mahatma Gandhi, who was an incredible servant leader, probably one of the best in recent times. And and Ray Dalio's digital Ray wanted to know if I knew other languages. And I said, yes, I mean, I'm a native English speaker. My mom is from Mexico, so I know some Spanish. I studied Greek and Latin with my kids when I homeschooled them. And so he talked about having a diverse ability, because when you learn a language, you don't just learn words, you learn a different way of thinking. The way that like Greek is structured is really different than English, for example, and same thing with Latin. And Spanish is, it has those different ways of speaking as well. It's a Romance language versus English, so kind of different. And so anyway, it's a kind of a fun chat in terms of getting some very practical advice, kind of like what you would get from maybe a grandfather who was super smart with a lot of different things. I really enjoy just chatting with Ray Dalio's digital Ray, if you wanted to experience that as well. And he also has a personality test. Oh, I forget the name of it now. I'm sorry. But that is another great way to understand yourself, is by finding out sort of those personality tests and finding out what you're good at, what your strengths and weaknesses are. I'm obviously very interested in learning lots of things, and I'm really terrible about doing things that are like something that I have to repeat over and over again. I always want new things, new things, new things. So very important to recognize that in yourself, like how do you work? And we could get into different uh, styles of being, if that's an interest to you. I've kind of studied it a lot, because I think in some ways I didn't fit in very well, especially being female, in the way that I think. As you can, you can see all those books behind me. I'm just so interested in learning things, and I don't I was always really embarrassed when I had all my kids and I was part of these groups, and I'd go to other people's homes and I would not even notice that it was a beautiful home. I was more interested in talking to the people and getting to know them and getting their understanding where they're coming from. That's kind of my thing is I really love to immerse myself in the culture of other people and learn what they're all about. I wouldn't notice how beautiful their homes are and or their the decor or even the food. I don't think I even ate anything. I would usually just drink water because I just wanted to to talk and discuss ideas. So just a really different personality when it comes versus some of the other people that I was with. And I started to kind of feel a little bit strange, like why is everyone else doing this and I do this? So it's kind of helpful to understand where you're coming from and when you're interacting with people and you're like, why am I so different? It's just because I have a different way of being in the world. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I am so sorry this has become so long. I hope you get something from it. Don't forget, you can always watch these on like 1.5 times or 1.25. I often do that. You can slow it down if it's too fast and you want to listen carefully about something I was saying. But anyway, I'm I'm just going to sign off tonight and um, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.